All right, guys, so a change of plans. It's getting really, really cold outside, in the 30s. And the water temperature's dropped in my outside ponds to the point where these tilapia are about to give it up. But they're still quite alive. And because it's so damn cold out there, netting these things is usually a really hard thing to do. But I'm thinking they get in that 68-degree water, they might have a little shock. We might lose one or two, but if we leave them in there, we're going to lose them all. And I think these guys are going to be okay. So I got more to show you, but I got a bunch of fish in that to get in here. We'll see how they're doing in a little while. They're pretty tough fish. So one little update before I go: I have lowered the lights, and we'll talk about all that a bit later today. Okay, full day has gone by since that last segment you saw, but in that time, I was able to successfully net, I think, every tilapia that I had left in that in-the-ground pond. Some of them, when I put them in here, they sat at the surface and just kind of surface breathed for a while. Some of them did some somersaults and things, but I came out here early this morning, and I pulled up the foam board and used a flashlight. I didn't see a single sunken or floating fish. Everybody seems alive. So that's a big win. And it was really difficult to net those guys until the water got down really, really cold. It got down into like 46 degrees, and they were on the verge of dying. And I don't know, maybe it's a good way to get them in for overwinter. Just wait till they get really lethargic and slow. So anyway, they're in there. They're swimming around. They're happy. They're now contributing to the system. I want to answer some questions today. I got a bunch of questions printed out over there. And got my morning cup of tea one of you guys sent me. This seems to be a thing now. Send Jack funny cups, so we'll put them in pictures and videos. And we'll have to get another one with that on camera with Fox the Cat with me. Oh, for Fox's sake. Anyway, let's look at one thing first. These are the microgreens that I was talking about. And again, white light is really all these guys need. I do have basically shop-style lights with T5s that are designed, 2 different spectrums specifically for microgreens. Since I have that, sooner or later I'm going to get off my butt, go into my other shop, and get it hung right between here. Because since I have it, there's no reason not to use it. However, I want to actually do it this way, plain lighting, just so you can see for microgreens this is good enough. You want them nice and tender. So a little bit kind of blanched from a lack of light is okay, but they're all starting to sprout. And man, I can't tell you how cold it's been. It's been really freaking cold. So everything's kind of growing really, really slow. Everything's healthy. Everything's alive. But even being indoors like this, even with the water being heated to the high 60s, the system itself in here is cold. How cold? Let's see. What's the floor temperature right now? 50 degrees. That's as warm as it's been. Wall temperature 48. And this is a break. It's actually warmer today than it's been, and it is going to be it's going to go down in the 20s Sunday and Monday, and the highs are going to still be below freezing for a couple days. So that'll really give us a test of this. But as long as we can keep that water at least in the 50s. We can get fish through winter. And let's take a look here and see where our water temperature is. 66 degrees. And it was funny, last night as I was netting these guys and sticking them in there, you could actually watch the temperature of the water drop just by adding the cold fish. I think there's probably about 30 of them in there. I think there was 40 I put in that tank. Probably a few have come out over the season. But I think I got everybody. I should have did a better count, but that water's really clear outside now, and I don't see anything in there anymore other than some goldfish. So. All right, over here, I did plant a salad mix, and I've got that one spotlight. They're just starting to germinate. Kind of missed that, but I took that soil bag, and I just laid that on the soil. I sprinkled the mesclun mix that I made. There's all different lettuces and mustards and spinach and stuff. Sprinkled it and kind of just moved it around my hand a little bit to get good soil contact. Just took that bag, laid it over top, put some wood on it to hold it down for a gentle covering for a few days. Picked it up today, saw some little sprouts starting. So go ahead and removed it. What I'm going to do is these big 45-watt grow lights. I have 2 more of these that are in another build right now that aren't really being used there yet. So instead of waiting for another one to come, probably today, maybe tomorrow, because I got a date day with the wife today. I'll get one of those in place over there. That'll be plenty for that system, and we'll order another one back into that other build. That's my grow tent for plant starting, and right now I have it double tiered and I'm only using one tier. We'll show you that in another video series starting soon. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and answer some questions. So one of the first questions I had was, with fish in this system, if you do rafting, won't they eat your roots? And with tilapia fingerlings, some, but you know, if you're rafting in a 3-inch net pot like this, there's quite a bit of root there for that vegetation to grow until it actually has to start coming out. But it's amazing how big those roots get. And yeah, they'll nibble it off. Now, with adult fish in here, yeah, they'll eat it. They'll plumb eat it. If you want to run fish in a tank and do deep water rafting, though, there are things you can do. These things here are about $1.50 a piece. And what you can do with this is you just attach it, pop some holes in your raft, attach it to the bottom, and then drill your rafting holes so that they can sit. You can see they'll sit like that and that. And you could probably do 3 inside each one, like this. I wouldn't do 4, even though they fit, you're a bit too close. But 2'd be plenty. We're not talking about commercial rafting here. We're talking about rafting, you know, to feed yourself, your family. If you look right there, you could easily, even with 2, go 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. That's 8 plants growing on a rafting bed. That's a lot of lettuce for one man to eat, guys. I'm telling you. When you see how you get that growth. So that would allow, you know, more root system in there and the fish coming around. And they'll clean the outside of it. That actually is good for the plants. It's not good for them to be chomped down to nothing, but there would be your solution to that. Next question. How is the height set by the bell siphon? Does anything change when you add media? So that's a great question. And we'll pull the bell siphon out. And because we have a media excluder, we can do that. And it's really simple. And you look, this is great because it's been running long enough. You can see a pattern here. Those holes at the bottom that cause the water to break set the level. So your level is going to be set, your bottom level is going to be set right at the top of your holes. And you see how the holes are all kind of evenly drilled? You want that because you just need one of them to break it. Sometimes it struggles a little bit. And then the top height, you can see right there. So that's each cycle, how much up and down we're getting each cycle, which is a great amount of movement. We're bringing nutrients to the plant roots, but then we're also giving oxygen to the whole system by dropping it back down. And when you add media, nothing changes about the levels, but the reliability changes because, you know, the waters may be occupying 25, 35% of the space. The rest of it's being occupied by the media. So it's less volume of water flowing through the system. And that means when you get down, because starting is really easy. It's the break where things get hairy on you if you don't have your speed of your water set just right. And by having less water in the system, it's a little easier to get that one little suck of air in there and break the siphon. So that's how that works. A thing you can do, you drill a hole up at the top of the siphon, put a brass fitting in it, put a tube, a piece of clear plastic tubing on, run it down, and tie wrap it, and put the edge of it right at the same height. That creates a second way for the siphon to break. Some people do that as a backup. Some people do that as they don't do holes at all. They just use that tube. If you just use that tube and you want to change your height, all you got to do is raise and lower the tube. I don't find it very reliable, and I don't find it necessary as a backup, so I don't do it. It's an extra expense, an extra step. I try to eliminate, but I don't fault anybody for doing it. If you wanted to hold more water in there, you wanted your drop to be less, which I almost never do. I want as much coming out as I can every time. You just put a siphon with holes a little bit higher, right? If you want to hold more water in the system, if you want your level to come higher, that is, of course, set by your overflow down in the tube. So that sets that level. So those are your 2 sets to that. So let me get back around here. Those are going to be yummy. Daikon sprouts on a burger, man. That's some good stuff. But next question. Water height versus media height. So, that's how people want to know how high my water comes up. Okay, there's about 2 inches of this expanded shale and then lava rock. And my water level's coming, if the expanded shell wasn't here, you'd see just a little bit of standing water. So I'm about 2 inches from the top. That expanding shell is very, very wicking media. You can see that even with the water never getting up into this level, it's still wet. It's been wet since the day it went in. It's never dried out fully. So that's one of the things I really like about it. It makes it easy to plant into it. As long as your roots are getting to a point where some water's getting to them, they'll grow down and find more. So that's that one. How's the smell? So somebody's thinking about doing this indoors. It's a fish tank. So think about it like, people keep tropical fish all the time. I guess the number of fish you keep would be, a part of it. There are days when you go in the greenhouse and it smells fishy. It doesn't smell bad, but it's like, it's a smell of fish, But it's not a bad smell. It's not a horrible smell. It's not like when you walk by the grocery store and you go by the fish section and you don't buy any fish that day because you think, what are you guys doing back there that stinks? It's not like that at all. But there is a faint fishy aroma at times. It depends on what fish you're running, how many fish you're running, things like that. Overall, if your system's running good, it should be fairly clean. The water that's coming out should be nice, clear water. So, next one. Let me find here. I've gone down to t-shirt mode because I got the space heater running. It's nice and warm in here now. Cost of the system. This system here, I really haven't done the math on the total, but let's just kind of add it up on the fly. We got this tank here. They sell for $229, I think. If you watch them, you get them on sale for $200. That's what I did, $200. These are about $80 or your $280 in your two main tanks. Pump was $60, I think, $60, $69, something like that. I have a question on the pump later. I'm not even sure what pump it is because it's so long ago that I got it, but I kind of went on Lowe's website, tried to figure it out. These beds here, these things are $12. All the pipes and fittings and stuff for a system like this, you're looking budget $25 for that. And, the lumber I had laying around, but a 4x4x8 that those are sitting on, those are like, what, $12, $10, something like that. And this is just this could all be done with scrap lumber here, guys. So, I mean, most of you wouldn't be doing that with lights and all because you'd be doing it outside. You'd probably have some expense because, I mean, this really makes a lot of sense. If I was going to do this outdoors, I would bring this 4x4 here almost to the edge. And then that would bring the other one way back. And that would move this tank way back. And I would have two more tanks with two more 4x4s way up here. That would leave enough room that you could get access to your water in the center. And I probably wouldn't even bother with rafting doing this outside. I would do 4 beds like this, pulled out to the edges. And that's a lot. That's a lot of grow bed space. And then I would run 4x4s up 8 foot, and I'd build a little pergola over it. You could do all of that in about an hour. It would just not be hard. But all in, I mean, maybe $350. You can grow way more than $300 worth of food in your first year. Just food you won't throw away because you can recycle it. It's a pretty quick payback on a system like this. The pump is drawing something stupid. It's less than 50 watts. I put the kilowatt on it. I'll do it again and get you guys a hard number on it going forward. But so if you weren't running heaters and you weren't running lights, it's a very low energy system to run a system this size. I'd probably run 2 of those pumps, one on the back set and one on the front set. That way if one dies, they'll both work. And it's a pretty good size pump for a system this size. If I wanted to get much bigger, I'd go to something like a dirty water pump and all, but then again, you have to put that pump inside a bucket with holes drilled in it to keep your fish from going in there and become fish chowder, right? Next question. How do you balance fish versus vegetation? There's people that get really fussy and particular about things. This is what I do. If my water quality is good, I'll run a standard aquarium test kit. Make sure, and when you cycle it, you're going to see your nitrites cycle and then come back down to nitrates, and that system balance out. If you really want to do it, you can test it every day and see how it goes and yada, yada, yada. I don't. What I generally do when I start up a system, I put it in, I get a bucket full of water from a friend's system or one of my other systems or something like that to get some bacteria going, I dump it in. I'll throw a little bit of Garrett juice like I showed you, or some Dr. Earth in there, just a little bit to kind of kick things off. And I'll wait a couple days and I'll go out and I'll buy 25, 50 disposable goldfish. Or I'll go down to a pond and throw a cast net and catch, 50 disposable sunfish. And I throw them in there. And I'm telling you, at some point, they start to die. And you know what I do? When they die, I take them out. I go to one of my wicking beds. Usually I have deeper wicking beds where like a pepper's growing. And I bury his ass under the pepper. And he's fertilizer. I mean, the goldfish are 14 cents, the sunfish are free, and when they stop dying, you take a test reading, and you'll find everything's kind of leveled off, and then you put your more valuable fish in. Here, I've got really hardy tilapia, and if they die, I don't care. I'll fillet them because I just saved them from dying from the cold. So I went ahead and put those in. But I don't get really, really fussy with this. I look at the system. If the plants are healthy, then I've got a balance. If the plants look like they need more nutrient, I add more fish. If I'm having trouble with my water levels, I add more plants or more grow bed or take some fish out of the system. That's it. I use my test kit very rarely. If I'm not sure what's going on and I'm just not quite sure, I'll go ahead and take a test reading. Most of the time, I just don't worry about it and I don't have a lot of problems. How small can you go? Well, you could easily take one of these like this right here and take one of the 100-gallon tanks. It's the exact same footprint as that, but it sits about the same height as this 300-gallon tank. And you don't even need any wood then. You could take that tank and put it this way across the other tank that way. We'll go ahead and open the door and be cold for a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You take one of these 100-gallon tanks like this. You take a 50-gallon tank, put it this way. If you wanted to later on, you could add another 50-gallon tank that way, and there you go. You're done. And this system, it's about 4 foot by about 2, almost 3 foot, so about 4 by 3, so 7 square feet. You can go smaller than that. I personally wouldn't. Hey, Fox, coming to hang out? Let's see if you want in or out when the door starts coming back down. What do you think, buddy? All right, you can come hang out for a while. All right, but that's about as small as I would go. I've seen people take a 29-gallon fish tank indoors, throw a couple grow beds on top of it, and make it happen. I mean, it's as small or as big as you want. A 100-gallon tank with a 50-gallon ebb and flow bed, though, I'll tell you what, you're going to have a really good balance. And if you need more nutrient, here's a trick. Let's say I need more nutrient, I don't have more fish. Just drain some water. Reduce the volume of water, and then your total amount of waste material from your fish will come up. Because I have a big tank with a lot of space, let's say I start having a little bit too much nutrient. Do a little bit of a water change and put more water in the system and dilution of the solution. As far as how small you can go with an ebb and flow bed, though, we've built them for just so people could see how they work, like half the size of this. But this is kind of my go-to. These, and they make them in 21 gallons as well. This is about as small as I want to go, and I've got a project in the future where I have a way to reinforce these because see how this is bowing? Doesn't matter with a wicking bed, but it does with ebb and flow. But that's about the smallest I'd want to go is these 14-gallon beds, and I've gone to 21-gallon beds. The more volume you have of that, the more filter you have. Remember, with ebb and flow bed, you're filtering twice. So water comes up and in, and then down and out, and up and in, and down and out. So it's not just about this. It's about the total volume of material you're using as a biosolid filter in the system. How do you cycle a system? I kind of covered that. There's the right way to do it, and there's a Jack Spirko way. I throw a bunch of fish in there I don't care about, and when they stop dying, I put fish in there I care about. That's the Jack Spirko way. I mean, and I know some people get bent out of shape over that, but guys, these are fish people use for bait every day. I use them for bait for catfish all the time. It's just reality. The reality is the ones that survive, man, those are your tough fish. Those are the ones, if you do want to do any kind of breeding, you want those genetics. All right, next up, what pump do I have? I think it's a $69 pump from Lowe's. It could be a $50 pump from Lowe's. I'll put a link to both of them in the video notes below so you can look at them, but I'm not sure because I bought it so long ago. In my head, I paid $50 for it, but when I look at the volume, I'd have to pull it out, and I don't want to pull it out now. In any instance, I would use probably a little bit more pump than this in the system, but nothing wrong with it. What I'll do, I'll look around on Amazon while this video is processing in the editor, and I'll find kind of an appropriate size pump if you were going to run all 4 beds off one pump, and an appropriate size pump if you were going to run 2 legs, so to say. And I would run 2 legs. And again, the reason I would run 2 legs is, let's say this is summertime. I mean, if this thing dies right now, these fish are not going to float. This water's, even at 60 degrees, is pretty cold. But say it's summertime, it's outside. Water temperature's 85, 90 degrees. And your pump dies. If you don't catch it, you got dead fish. You can have aeration in it. That helps too. But I mean, having that flow, right? That really, really helps. So if you have 2 legs and 1 pump dies, you're still running. I would take a 3rd pump. Now, see, I got pumps sitting on the shelves over there. I would keep a spare pump at all times that matches what's in your system, the exact same model. The reason being is you have everything dry fit. That pump dies, it's a 2-minute process. Reach in, pull it out, stick the new one in, shove the dry fitting back onto it, and go on with life. I really recommend that you keep a spare pump, and so I'll try to get you guys that. But this pump, again, seems to be right about the edge of what I would use in the system, but I love the low wattage draw. Again, I'll get you guys a number on that. It's just not using much energy. And it is running an ebb and flow bed and two constant flow wicking beds. And I think I could get enough out of it if I wanted to. I could put 2 more of those in and probably do that. Or I could run 2 ebb and flows. I don't have enough speed, I think, to be able to run, let's say, another ebb and flow with the 2 wicking and that one. Always go a little bit more pump than you need, in my opinion. And the reason is, let's say I had more pump than I needed. I'd have a spray arm coming off the pump. So your excess pressure, you set a straight valve, take a pipe, put an end cap on it, drill some holes in the bottom, and then put your, a valve like that in it. And whatever extra pressure you have, just recirculate it straight into the water. If this was a long-term system, I wouldn't have just used the pump I had laying around, and we'd be using more speed. If that pump dies on me for some reason during this project, I have a much more powerful pump that I'll stick in there, and we'll do that. But I really don't need that. Again, I'm just trying to keep the water temperature where these fish will stay alive through the winter with that. Next one, choosing varieties of fish. Okay, you can do anything you want, okay? I mean, that's in the end. It's up to you. But I think you should realize in a system like this, you're probably not going to eat fish every day all year round out of it. You're probably not going to eat it 4 times a week. You might grow enough fish to eat fish 1 day a week over the year. Let's say 50 fish would be 1 fish per week per person. If you could run 100 fish in this, and I think this system probably could support about 100 fish, if you really stayed on it, then that would be 2 fish for a couple a week throughout the year. That would be, one way to look at it. You want more fish than that, you need to expand the system. But again, you take another tub, put it right next to it, connect the bottom, and you're golden. But remember, those fish have to grow. They have to attain size. And then when you start taking them out, you're taking out the thing that's producing the waste that's running the system. So you generally don't take everybody at once unless you have a winter die-off with tilapia. Okay, best bang for your buck, especially if you can get them to breed for you, which I have not been able to do, in spite of being easy, is tilapia. Why? 1 season, 7 months, you get a fish bigger than your hand from a little bitty thing like this. Nothing else grows that fast. People say they don't like the taste. You know what? I'm no fan of tilapia, but the tilapia that I've eaten out of my own systems tastes nothing like the tilapia I've ever eaten in the store. It's a delicate white meat, and it takes up whatever flavor you put on it. We rub them down with fermented Korean chili paste and fry them. We don't put any batter on them. I don't fillet them. Slit the belly, pull the guts out, leave the head on, scale them. They scale like easy. The easiest scaling fish I've ever scaled. A couple little slits in the skin. Rub a little bit of chili paste on them, some ginger and some chili paste on the inside of them, salt and pepper, oil about that deep. Put them in the oil and fry them. So the skin's crisp, pull them out. Fantastic. So I wouldn't not do tilapia just because you say you don't like the taste. They're worth trying. What you don't want to do, in my opinion, predators, pike, bass, things like that, because they're too much of a pain in the ass to feed and you can't keep the population high enough. Catfish are fine. I don't prefer catfish in an aquaponics system. I have some in my aquatic systems outside, larger systems with more movement through the system, because ICH, is a disease that sooner or later shows up in all aquariums. Little white cysts all over your fish. We've dealt with it in ours. We've had to get rid of them. We've used copper basically as a treatment. You can use copper as a preventative, but sooner or later it's going to hit you. Scale fish usually survive it. And you usually get it in the winter when the water's cold, because the cycle of the reproduction of the ichthyosis thing, it goes much slower. So once the water's over like 85 degrees, these things go, their entire reproduction cycle is like, I think it's like 12 hours. And that makes them easy to kill because you can't kill them when they're on the bottom as a little thing, and you can't kill them when they're infecting the fish. It's only when they're waterborne that they can be killed. And they can be killed with copper, salts, and other things. But copper's probably the best. But when that production cycle's short, you keep copper in the system for a day, everybody's reproduced, everybody's dead. Well, again, your scale fish usually survive that. It knocks catfish out for the count. They look awful when they get hit with ick, and because they have skin. So I'm not a fan. You can do it. I like to eat catfish, but I have other places I grow them in more of an aquatic, larger scale system. Not these high density systems. My favorite fish are bluegill, perch, brim, call them what you want to, depending on where you live, but sunfish. Why? They're free. They will take about 2 seasons to grow if you get, ones that are that big. They'll take 2 seasons to get up to hand size where they make a good meal, but they get there, and they're free, and you can go out and catch them for free, and they're everywhere. They're in every pond. They're in every pond in every apartment complex you can find a fish in. They're in every river, creek, backwater. They're everywhere. And there's nothing that prevents you from going out and catching ones that are like, I'd almost eat that, and selectively bringing those in and bringing larger fish in. But what about wild fish into the system? It's gonna. I don't worry about it. They're free. They're free. I'll go get more. I don't care. And that is the number one reason that we've been so successful with our aquaponics systems. We don't worry about this stuff. We just try something. If it doesn't work, hey, that didn't work. Let's go get some more fish. We'll try something else. We just made fertilizer. It's that simple. So now, my opinion, it's just my opinion, the number one ROI you could get from a system like this on fish to keep your population where you want it, run some goldfish in there, go buy like PetSmart, Petco, whatever, especially when they're on sale, and cherry pick the prettiest long fin butterfly koi you can get. Put them into your system and raise them up over several seasons. When they get, a foot long and they're, kind of backing up to move around in there and they're looking really, really beautiful, sell them on Craigslist. Don't have 20 of them in there all the same age. Have them spaced out. They don't fight. They don't cause trouble with each other. They're really peaceful fish. And that way, every year you can sell 3 or 4 of them. A buddy of mine named Dave, he sells them for $100 to $150 on Craigslist, and he'll sell a few a year. $200, $300, $400 a year in koi. Take that money and go buy all the fish that you want to eat for the year. Or buy all the food and all the inputs for the system for a year and make the system pay for itself. That, in my opinion, is your number one ROI fish, but they do cost money, and if you lose one, you've lost something significant. For eating, bluegill, perch, call them what you want to. To me, they take the pellet feed. You put them in there for like a week. They're like, we're not eating this shit. We want to go back to our pond. And after about a week of not eating, they turn into little piranhas. I've got them out in my other system. They'll eat out of my hands. And those are wild-caught fish. So that's my favorite fish. Last one. Do you need a swirl filter or a solid separator? We do have one in the big system out back. In my opinion, you don't need it. It's a nice to have, and it's not necessary enough to make it worth doing in a system this size. Let's talk about a couple of things that you can do about this. See that drain? Where's that come off? The bottom. Where's the majority of your solids going to go? The bottom. So if you're really worried about it, once every couple weeks, put a hose to wherever you want some fertile water to go, open it up, take 50 gallons out, throw some dechlorinator in it. If you're on grid water, put 50 gallons back in the system. You're not going to have much buildup down there if you do that. If you're really worried about it, that thing right there, that's called a python. And I use it for cleaning my aquarium, and I've got a 4-foot tube for it that I'd use in my IBCs outside if I think they're getting kind of funky. You attach that to a garden hose, and it makes that into a very, very powerful siphon. You're really worried about it? Once a month, get one of those, stick it in there, vacuum your floor if you really want to worry about it. But in the end, you're probably not going to have much trouble if you're just doing some basic 50-gallon water changes. Out of a 300-gallon tank, that's a sixth of the water. You don't even need to do that. 20 gallons is probably all you need, and you're going to get most of that out of there. Again, a solid separator, they're nice to have. We have a really big system outside, so we have one built into it. And about once a week, I open it up and drain the solids out of the bottom. It's great for fertility, but I've actually been kind of underwhelmed at how much we get. It's not a half gallon that comes out dark a week. So it's not really as important as I think people seem to think it is. But that also has to do with how much media do you have in your system. If you have a 300-gallon tank filled that much, you're like 270 gallons of water, and you're running through 4 of those, I don't think you're ever going to need it. You might at some point decide you do, but I wouldn't let it hold you back. Anyway, long episode, lots of questions. Keep them coming. We'll keep the build coming, and we'll have more for you soon.